Okay, good morning everybody. I'm here out here at Grass River Natural Area, out in the open. And this is a beautiful first summer morning I can remember here this year, so it's perfect for doing outdoor activities. So one of the things we're going to do today is show you how to draw 4 different insects using numbers. And I also have a field guide. It's a very simple field guide of insects, and the nice thing about it is it has drawings and paintings in it. And sometimes photographs are not as easy to use as drawings. In fact, they are not as easy to use because drawings show you what's important. So let's start with the ladybug, the beetle. So draw a 0. And that'll be our first number. And then we will draw the top part of the bug and a head here. I've drawn it here and here. So the top part of the bug is black and it's shiny. So I'm going to switch to a bigger marker. And I'm using, for these lines, I'm using a permanent Sharpie because when we color over these, it won't run or bleed out into the environment. So we've drawn a head here, as you can see on this one. And then we draw a vertical line for the wings, right up to the head. All right, so already it looks like a ladybug. Okay, then with my marker, there are several different kinds of ladybugs. Some of them have a lot of spots, some don't. There is one that can be an annoyance with a lot of spots, but we're drawing the good one today. The other one is annoyance because it is introduced, it's actually taking over the native ladybugs as invasive species of all kinds do. So what we've got here then is, I'm going to put the dots here. It has 2 dots here, 2 here, and again I'm using a permanent marker. It happens to be a big fat permanent marker. So I've got, and both sides are, it's a mirror image, what we call symmetrical. Okay, so there's my ladybug. And it's pretty much done except for the most exciting part. The most exciting part will be to add color. So I'm going to just start this over here. It's really almost a fluorescent orange. So I'm going to use 2 different colors. These markers are not waterproof. So they will, if you put water on them, they will bleed in. So I'm going to color this as bright an orange as I can get. I'm using 2 different orange colors. So if I do the same thing on the other side, I will finish this later, but on the other side, it's the same. And then for something shiny, white out. Because white out will cover. So I'm going to just dip the white out in here and paint a couple of where the highlight would be on something shiny. Maybe put a little bit on the head, put a little bit here. Oops. And you have a shiny ladybug. Okay, so remember, it's just a big 0. And what I use the bottom of this to draw the 0. I use this one to draw the 0. And a permanent marker. So we'll get back to that. Okay, the next one is a dragonfly. So they're called dragonflies because they are predators. And they keep things, other insects that might be pests under control, like mosquitoes, flies that carry diseases. So to draw a dragonfly, ignore this. No spell check here at Grass River. Okay, so to do a dragonfly, you draw 2 figure 8s. So I have one here, and I'm going to use a little bit narrower pen. So I draw another 8. Now what I did, I actually took one of my figure 8s and made a pattern of it, so that when I go down here to do one, I can just draw around this and it'll be the same size. Make this a little bigger. So dragonflies have 4 wings attached to the thorax, which we'll draw in a minute. Doesn't matter if they overlap. Remember, these wings, you can see through them. They're translucent or transparent. So if you have a little overlap, that's okay. Now for the thorax, the head up here, there's a what I call a short neck, and then some eyes here. And then there's a segmented body. Which tapers down. So I'm just going to draw this. Some of these bodies have color on them. Okay. Now the antennae are very short. These are eyes right here. These are the eyes. They are large. And the dragonfly wings are quite translucent. And for those, I'm going to use, I guess I could use a Sharpie, a fine Sharpie. I don't have one right with me, but taking a very fine line for the wings, I make some networks in here. So that it's really, this does look like, almost like a fishing net. I'm just going to do that side. And on this one over here, I did use, it has to be a ballpoint pen is what I use. Don't use anything washable on this one. And then, depending on what color is on the body, I'm going to make it orange so it shows up. The dragonfly, actually this part up here at the top is where the legs come out. And so what the insect does is perch like this. with its legs so that its tail is sticking up. And so it's kind of like the landing gear on a plane. So for the wings, where's a light blue? This one, for the wings, I'm going to moisten this. And I'm going to use, I could use gray, light blue, whatever. Let's use gray on this one. You don't want a very dark color. And I moistened the paper so it would kind of soften the color and spread it out. Some dragonflies, when they perch, open their wings. Some of them perch with their wings to the back. So that's one way of identifying them to species. Now again, I can put a couple of white dots here and here. To give a bit of a highlight. And I'm using white out. So there you have a pretty much done dragonfly. Now, the really cool one. So this happens to be a bumblebee. Now, bees, as you know, are beneficial. You might say, well, they're not to me, because if they sting me, it's not helpful. But actually, bumblebees and other bees like honeybees, native bees, are pollinators of many of our food crops. Probably at least 80% of our food crops throughout the world are pollinated by bees. There are other pollinators too, but bees are the experts. So what you do is draw a figure 8, which is less round on top, bigger on the bottom, like this. And the wings are skinny 6s. What do I mean by a skinny 6? That's a skinny 6, okay? And bumblebees and honeybees, all members of the bee family, do have 4 wings. So I'm going to draw, and they are not over the back. They are to the side. So I'm going to draw my 6s right here. Just 4 of these. This is one set that goes that way, the other one faces the other way. Okay? Now the fun begins. Okay, for a bumblebee, the head and the antennae up here. And then on the body, there's a black stripe here and a bigger black stripe on the bottom of that top segment. And then 2 patches here. So I've got the head, left some of it light. There's a patch here, 2 round patches here. This is a segment, and then down here is a little notch, which I'm going to draw. Okay. We'll get to the legs in a minute. Okay, now the bumblebee is a bright, rich yellow. So I'm using my washable marker to go over this. So you've got your basic color. And then there is a little, what's this? What color is this? Okay. I'm going to grab a much finer marker, I think. And then the Bumblebee has, and all bees have segments of the body. So I'm going to draw this. You can use a dark yellow if you want to. Okay, so that's the body of the Bumblebee. For the wings, I'm going to go back to my permanent marker or pen. And I'm going to draw a 6 here, and I'll show it to Emily. There's one 6, and another 6, and then the other one is right here. And I'm going to draw, so they come off the thorax like this. And I'm going to draw some veins on here very simply. Not exactly leaf-like, but these veins support the wings. And now that I have that on there, I'm going to use very light, let's use blue. I don't know, blue, put it up here. And if the body shows through this, that's fine. So I've colored it light blue. And, oh, wait a minute. So you've got that. Wait a minute. We have the legs. Okay, the legs come off this top part, like this. And on the bees, there are sacs on the legs which pick up pollen. I'm going to exaggerate these, just like saddlebags. Usually, you have a better chance if you're a plant of being pollinated if you have an insect doing the job, because the pollinator usually gets it to the right plant. Whereas the wind, as a pollinator, flies on everything. It pollinates your car, it pollinates that table over there, and it's not very efficient. So pollinators are essential for allowing the plant to produce a fruit, a vegetable, seeds that we can eat or plant for other plants. So pollinators are essential to our food web. And so all of these can pollinate, but it's the bumblebee and the honeybee that are the true pollinators. So I invite you to get out and look at some of these insects. You could take a picture of them and just use these simple patterns. Just gather a few tools and go out, look around and see what you see. You will find that if you actually sketch these things, you will understand and be able to draw them much better, and you'll remember them and all the cool things about them. So thanks for joining us. Emily's our photographer here, and thank you, and we will see you on the trails.